right, so we are now live and in episode 90 of Eclipse on Tap with a very, very special guest. We'd love to welcome to the show Dr. Hubertine Underberg-Ruder, the Underberg. This is an absolute pleasure to have you on the show, and appreciate you being here.
Yes, thanks for inviting me. It's a big pleasure for me and a big honor.
Well, thank you. It's an honor for us as well.
A huge honor. So Hubertine is the president of the board of Underberg. And of course, Underberg is a product and a brand that has become a part of our show's identity. And in fact, we know that in the United States in particular, there's been this big following of Underberg over it seems like the last few years. People are finding it to be more and more popular. But the brand, of course, founded in 1846. So there's a lot of legacy tied into the Underberg brand. And so Hubertine, could you talk a little bit about sort of the legacy of this wonderful product and this brand?
Yes, for sure I can. As a representative of the fifth family generation, of course, it is not only my obligation, it is a big opportunity and a big fun to talk about all the different stories and things that have been happening in all the generations of Underberg, and maybe have a window open also a little bit to the future of our brand, especially in the United States. Regarding your question, what was the development of Underberg in the recent years? We have been growing for more than 20 years constantly, from a very small base and getting bigger every day. And my husband, Franz, and myself representing the fifth generation, we both have ties to North America. On my husband's side, he studied in North Carolina. And myself, I worked for 1 year in Canada, in the interior of British Columbia, close to Vancouver. And so we travel quite a bit through the United States and Canada. I have a lot of fun in North America as such. And we are trying to be close to the consumers there and try to understand what really makes this wonderful people living there coming close to our brand Underberg. What do they love about it, and how to enjoy it in the context of the American going out culture, being together culture, and so on. Yes, so we are very happy. Underberg is since 1890s active in the United States, and the Underberg Sales Corporation, our local subsidiary, is also there for decades. And but as I said, we have been always a rather small niche product, starting with the 1990s. We had a positive movement which was more or less rooted in the fine food show movement that came about in the 1990s, and my husband regularly traveling. I mean, I was having our 4 kids at that time, so I was not traveling so much to Northern America, but my husband was, and he was looking after those markets on behalf of our family company, and he saw this movement, and suddenly people became to be interested in ingredients of drinks and food. And from this movement, the craft beer movement arose. And so with this, ever since this was happening in the United States, Underberg has been growing because we have a broad heritage from our products properties, being a natural herbal digestive made from herbs from 43 countries, having no sugar, the herbs are organic. All of this is appealing to people who were then interested in these fine food shows, who were then the people who became active as craft beer brewers. And so there was a rooted common development ever since 1993, 4, 5, 6, and so on. So step by step, the craft beer scene came about, and as you probably better aware than me, as you are called here, Eclipse on Tap, the whole beer movement was very inspiring for us, because the talk about all the different ingredients, the different malts, the double hop, and all of this, and also the acquainting of the North American consumer or the consumer's palate to bitter taste was a big movement, a big development. I think it was much bigger than the people in the US themselves thought, because in Europe we also have big differences. For example, Underberg is extremely small in France, which is very close to Germany, where Underberg is produced. And this taste habits almost never change. So for us, this openness and this being enthusiastic about things, being emotional about things, this is something we really love about the people in the US and also in Canada. And so it moved very fast that people got acquainted also to bitter taste. And somebody who loves a pale ale will never find Underberg really bitter. But somebody who has never had a pale ale will say that Underberg is very bitter.
We've had a few.
This movement has helped. And in a way, of course, it's a very authentic taste, a very real taste, something that is not mellowed or softened. Underberg contains, as I said, no sugar at all, not even caramel for the color. It all comes from the herbs themselves. Wow. And so this was why and how the development, if we speak about the history of Underberg in the United States, this is how it came about.
That's incredible. And I think I appreciate you telling the story through the lens of the history of the company, right? And how things have developed from a palate perspective. It's something that maybe we in the United States, as you mentioned, might not even be thinking about, but in reality, it sort of is what's happening. Certainly that's how we were introduced to Underberg, at a craft brewery, right? A craft brewery that we're partnered up with for this podcast. And so it's become such a fun thing. And it's just something that we do. And we'll get into a little bit later, our cycling team component of this podcast. And it's something that is just a part of the fabric of what it is we do. So
it's a ritual.
It is a ritual. It's great.
Yeah. Yeah, this is something else that is, let's say, constant path in the history of Underberg through all 5 generations till now. And 2 years ago, our son Ludwig, our eldest son of the 4, he joined the business as vice president of our supervisory board. And so it's also true for him, being the 6th generation. He is the father of 2 little boys, not yet at drinking age. They are 5 months and 2.5. So too early for that. One path is this creativity in creating rituals, in creating special moments that really goes through all generations of Underberg. And as you say, what we see, and also when Franz and myself, and also my son Ludwig, who has lived for 2 years in the States too, so we all 3 have a close relationship to that market. And he speaks much better English than me, by the way. So, but is this the ritual about Underberg, how to consume it, how to find the specific moment, the specific way. It is really something really, really, really special. And through these rituals, the brand has a lot of consumers who have very, very close and emotional ties to our brand.
Absolutely. That describes us to a T. It has become, as Matt said, it has become kind of a fabric of what when we get together for a bike ride, or we meet at the pub or wherever it is, it's let's have an Underberg, and just kick things off, Yeah,
we've also met new people from it, too. So it's developed more friendships and things like that too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. But you were actually also asking, I think, maybe not, about the history how it all began, or was it more how it happened in the US? The question.
Yeah, I think we'd love to hear the history of how it all began as well. That would be great context.
Yeah, I mean, like, you will probably also wonder about this crazy first name, Hubertine, because I also do not know anybody who has this first name except of me. So it's also in Germany not a common first name. That is, so don't, you are not alone with it. Everybody also in the European context wonders about this first name. And so that's about it. The founder's name was Hubert.
Okay.
And so the female form of it is Hubertine, and this is what my parents then chose to be my first name. And so Hubert, he was a young man, and he decided, together with his wife Katharina, to start the business. And in the today's world, we would call the role of Katharina, she was the business angel, because she had the money and she gave it to him. And the other interesting, well, there's two more interesting fun facts about this. The first one is that they started the business on the day of their wedding.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
That's ambitious.
Yes, exactly. So on the 17th of June, 1846, they went to the city hall and got wedded. And they, as they were in the city hall already, they also signed there the founding documents of the company.
Okay.
In front of the local notary public. And so that was, in one way, I think, quite remarkable. It has something about things have to be looked at holistically. You have to look at your life as a whole, and there's private and emotional, and there is business and rational. And if you balance it properly, you will have a good life. And I think both of them, they had a very good life, and all of their life, they were very, very good partners. About this is fun fact too, that women were allowed to vote in democratic elections was established in Germany only in 1918.
Oh, wow.
So after World War II.
Okay.
After World War I, sorry. After World War I. The founder and his wife, they were really partners, I said before. They were partners on eye level. And so he gave her full signature rights and got her registered with full signature rights in the commercial register, even though as a woman in those days, she would not even have voting and election rights.
Wow.
And so that's 2 generations earlier in the end. And that's, I think, also quite remarkable. And it is one of those roots that go through in my family, in all 5 generations. Also, the women were always also active. They were treated on high level. And it was, even though that on the political scale, the development was not at all that far. So also my mother and my grandmother have been in the business, and also the wife of the 2nd generation. And as I said, the founder, he wedded his business angel and started the business same day. So I think that's something. And why did he found Underberg? Because he wanted to do something which was characterized by the 2 words that you also find on the Underberg packaging. You can look at it up here. It's on the left up corner. I have some Underberg, of course, here close. And it says Semper Idem. I have now of course, not the North American packaging, but I think it's in line 4.
Mm-hmm.
And Semper Idem is Latin, and you can ask, of course, fully just why did the founder use Latin? I can also explain this to you.
Could you?
Because in those days, Germany was not existing, and in our region was a bilingual region speaking equally Dutch and German, and being partly occupied by the French. So French language, which was at that time the language of the diplomacy, was because parts of the Lower Rhine area was occupied by French. That was not the option and not the way to go. And at that time, English was not yet as broadly spoken. As I said, in those days, it was more French or Latin. Everybody was in Europe had to learn at a certain level of school Latin, and so he went to this Latin. And semper idem means always the same, and the context in which it was used was always the same in quality, so always highest quality and effect. Because being a digestive, having this high intensity of most valuable, carefully selected, carefully extracted herbs, he wanted to grant to the consumer and give trust to the consumer that when you buy Underberg, you always get the highest quality and the highest density of the effective ingredients from the herbs from 43 countries.
Wow. Interesting.
So, yeah, this is how it all came about, and similar things were around in Belgium, in the Netherlands, but they were of varying quality. And so to stand out, he chose this semper idem to mark to everybody very clearly that this is what Underberg stands for.
That's a fantastic story. I think starting from the very beginning with how they were wed and starting the company on the same day. I love how you stated that it sort of set the cultural foundation, I guess, in a way, on day one for what Underberg is and what it means. The brand and people feel that when they consume this product, when they get sort of introduced into that world of like the following of Underberg, people recognize that there's something special about this brand.
Yes.
And that's certainly what drew us. And we've been so thrilled to be partnered in the capacity that we are with Underberg for 5+ years now, and it's just become such a core fabric of our show. Hence this background that our viewers can see, right? With these beautiful herbs and flowers. It's a core part of what we do, and we'll talk in a little bit when we get to the cycling part about how we've sort of tried to integrate some of that into our cycling jersey as well. So, but
Fantastic.
yeah.
By the way, I really like the background of your studio.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, this is David's studio.
Yeah. David. Yeah, thanks, David. That's really great. And also the way you have put the Eclipse on tap in Underberg. We always call it our herbal carpet.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Yes.
Awesome.
Can you mentioned your studies in North America, your husband as well in the States, and your son. Can you talk to us a little bit about your background academically and how that's tied into your role with Underberg?
Yeah, you wrote this wonderful question to me, and I always felt, there's finally somebody's speaking about it, but I have to be a little bit careful here because I would not consider myself a scientist anymore to a certain extent, because I left science when I started to join the family company in 1991.
Oh, okay.
And so that is more than 35 years ago, and the world has turned around a lot. On the other hand, of course, I was educated in microbiology, genetics, plant physiology, and animal physiology. And of course, the background that you have and the interests that remain with you, even if you are not working as a scientist anymore, this background puts a certain lens on how you look into the world. And this you never leave. Right. So this is more or less what I would say about my status today. I would not consider myself a scientist, as I'm for more than 35 years in business. But the way that science has opened my eyes to the way how to look at things, at people, at relationships, at a lot of things, have a science background. So I am, unfortunately, I don't know how the listeners of this podcast are educated themselves. So I by no means feel that I should be considered as a scientist. I have a science background, yes, but today I'm a business person, and I think it is an interesting relationship between the both, because very often I find it very inspiring if I see that somebody outside of me with a, let's say, solely business background looks differently. I find it inspiring, and sometimes maybe if somebody who has that background speaks with me, finds it also interesting that I come to a little bit different point of view. The accent of the solution looks a little bit is shifting to a different mode, which maybe gives a little more differentiation also to our business. And I think this is what is important and what you learn. After my educational part, I worked for 5 years in ecology. I worked for the Ministry of Agriculture and Fisheries of the Netherlands.
Oh, wow.
And in that time when I was looking on the interaction of plant and pathogens, that pathogenic microorganisms that made, in this case, potato plants ill, it was interesting to see how the forces between things, between two living things, can be described in science, totally different to the way people interact with each other, and also to see some little parallels and big differences can be very inspiring and very interesting. And yeah, that is basically what I did in science and how I look at the world. I still think it's our world is so interesting. Maybe the last thing I would like to mention on here is I'm extremely curious. With most scientists, curiosity and being interested in the world and in the things around is something that is a sort of inborn attitude that scientists usually have. And in that respect, I think I am still a scientist because I'm really interested in a lot of, sometimes even crazy things, yes.
Very good. Thank you.
Awesome. And maybe I'd love to tell you a little bit about what you see behind us here too. You know, we were talking about the digital studio. And so we're in David's basement right now, and it's evolved into this wonderful studio. And you'll kind of sense a common theme with a little thing called Underberg.
I will open it if that's okay.
Yeah, of course.
Of course, I have no tap here. Yeah.
Working on getting one installed maybe down here.
Yeah, maybe at some point here. So yeah, we touched on just our passion for cycling. Like the genesis of this podcast was the 2017 eclipse, but we've really bonded and come together, the three of us and our team members through our outdoor activities. I have a background. I used to race professionally cycling. Nathan raced elite. Matt was a collegiate rower. And now we have a group of friends that we love riding bikes, whether it's road bicycles or mountain bikes. I'm a big fan. We're all fans of the Tour de France and watching that during the summertime. And I just want to say that although we've kind of always had that bond, I think Underberg, the introduction of that has really brought everybody together. And even just outside of our own friends group, we do a grassroots weekly training ride during the summertime. And we have, I would say, probably 25 people that show up afterwards to get an Underberg and to cheers with us. And it's really a beautiful thing. And it's just brought so much of the community together, and it's brought us closer too. So just wanted to say that. But I was just curious, what are your favorite hobbies? Do you like to bike, anything like that? In your current location, I think you're Swiss based.
Yes.
So is there anything that you like to do that you do with your family even?
Yes. I mean, like, I'm not at all into professional cycling, but watching the Tour de France is extremely popular also in our family. My eldest son, Ludwig, who, as I said, joined the business and lived in the US, he is also very sportive and professionally, I would say almost. He has been Swiss champion for 10 kilometers in his earlier days. He's not active in any kind of competitions anymore, but he really loves sport, and our other 3 children are also rather sporty, I would say. Maybe I'm the least sportiest person in our family, but I still like to cycle also. I was brought up on the Lower Rhine, where the landscape is extremely flat, and other than in the Tour de France, where the big mountain, like the Ballon d'Alsace and the Grand Ballon, where the big mountains are in the Vosgian mountains, this is the big thing in the region where I was brought up. It is totally open to the Atlantic storms coming from the west. And if you have 100 kilometers wind in your nose and you have to cycle to school, I can tell you, you have quite some good training. And I was raised in the countryside, and I was cycling to school. Maybe outside of winter, there was a public transportation also. But it was so inconvenient that even in quite bad weather, I was still cycling in the morning, the 9 kilometers to school, and back in the afternoon. And today, of course, we are very, very happy to have also the e-bike. But my husband and myself, we both have one, and we do it, by the way, also on the route where the Tour de France is, because our kids have a holiday home in Alsace, in the southeast of France, and it's 1.5 hours from our Swiss home. And so we can go there for the weekend and can bicycle on the Grand Ballon or on the Ballon d'Alsace, and it is really nice. So this is what we really enjoy. It's a fantastic nature. They have fantastic trails which are kept in very good shape, as well mountain bike as normal off-road things. It is really a very good thing. If you are interested, maybe you could know the cousin of our sons and daughters. One of them is a crazy and with a good following mountain biker. So in our family, mountain biking is important. I'm 63 and I like an e-bike.
I don't blame you. I think I'll be in the same position.
Yes, exactly. But being raised on a bike in the Lower Rhine area, cycling is very close to my heart, and I like it very much. And the other thing I really like is open sea and open ocean swimming.
Oh, wow.
And so when I was in Canada, I would swim in every lake. I swim in front of Vancouver in the Harbor Bay and at Kitsilano Beach and all the nice places where one can have a good swim. And so that is something that we always enjoy. I think it's very nice if in your hobbies you can be outside, because it really connects you to nature. My husband is a biochemist, and so we both are in biosciences, and it gives you really good roots and it gives moments of enjoyment. And as you said, whether it is to kick off or whether it is to close, to have a common drink together, like a good Underberg. I mean, it comes in the portion bottle. You can always have it along. It has many advantages, and this is why everywhere around the world, outdoor sport people like Underberg a lot. Also in the Nordics, where they go fishing, where they go boating, where they go hunting, they really like to have it along.
Yeah, we started a couple times this summer. We do a ride where we start with a coffee and do about a couple-hour ride. Then we end at speciation and have an Underberg there, and we have a group of guys that do that too. So it's been a part of our monthly occurrence. So a lot of fun.
Yeah, that's really great. Yeah, the portion bottle was an invention of my grandfather.
So it wasn't always this bottle, this packaging.
Before, yeah, it was. If you think about it, it is technically not so trivial. It needs certain technique to fill. We fill in our bottling capacity, in our bottling plant. We fill about, depends on, but we fill around about 1 million bottles a day.
Wow.
And you need a lot of technical background to be able to do so. And so in the time when Underberg was founded, it wouldn't even have been possible to do so.
Right.
And Underberg always had a lot of copycats, alone in the founders' town Rheinberg, where Underberg is still produced to this day in the same location, but of course in a much more modern equipment. But in those days, Underberg was bottled in big bottles and copied, and the people tried to imitate it as much as possible. And in the on-trade, very often they would pour something and pretend to the consumer that it would be Underberg, even if it wasn't, and if it was a cheaper imitation. And so my grandfather then, in the middle of World War II, when Underberg was discontinued to be produced because we couldn't get the herbs from 43 countries, the family, like in the First World War, decided to discontinue the production instead of lowering the quality, because we stick to the motto Semper Idem, always highest quality and effect. And so when that happened, he had been visiting a family producing other products, in this case pharmaceuticals, for the army hospitals. And the pharmaceuticals were packed in little ampoulas, glass ampoulas, and he saw the first development of the bottling machine. And the owner, the company still exists today, probably even you know it, it's the company Boehringer.
Sure.
And so my grandfather and the grandfather of, by the way, he is also called Hubertus von Baumbach, the CEO and also fifth generation member of the family. His grandfather and my grandfather, they met in Ingelheim, where they're based also today. And very proudly, Mr. Boehringer, he showed to my grandfather this new machine. And so inspired by this and the originality that was applied for these pharmaceutical products for the army hospitals, my grandfather then, after the war, got in contact with this company from Stuttgart that was able to produce this kind of bottling machine. Also, before, there were, of course, small bottles, but they were only used as samples and not sold. But the idea to sell really one portion in an original packaging, one drink in an original packaging, and one glass in an original packaging, was the idea, the really crazy and quite creative idea of the third generation of my grandfather.
Well, he nailed it. This is that's what makes it so iconic.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And I think this combination of this original idea of being close to the consumer with giving him something he can really trust in, which is close to the consumer, so that he doesn't have to mix it, because the idea from what it came, the liquid for this digestion, was always a mixed drink of different ingredients, which varied, of course. And the idea to have a, let's say, ready to drink already, which was already totally balancedly and carefully composed in one bottle, was the founder's idea. And then it was sort of thought further with the portion bottle by my grandfather.
Yeah, and it fits in the back pocket of a cycling jersey.
Just perfectly.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah, it really fits very well, yes.
Yeah, maybe even a few.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's such a cool story, and I think our audience will really appreciate that, because I don't know if a lot of people know that. Maybe they just assume the small bottle has always been the way. So, yeah, that's exciting to hear. with regard to the questions that we were asking about sort of the Swiss landscaping, I love you were talking about being able to access some of the Tour de France course, and what an incredible area of the world that you live in to conduct outdoor activities. I have to imagine that the night sky around where you are is maybe quite beautiful as well. Is that the case?
Yes, of course, we have a lot of light smog, it's called in Europe. I don't know whether this is the proper explanation also in the American English. But when you go up into the higher locations and a little bit off the big towns, of course, you have fantastic sky view. It is really ultra fantastic. My mother's family originally comes from Austria, and the family home from my family in Austria is in this generation run by my sister. And when we stay at her house at an altitude of 1,500 meters, then you have a sky view like I have a rolling bed, really a real mattress on 4 wheels, and I lay myself down for hours to look up into the stars. And when towards the end of the summer, a lot of how do you call it in English? Comets.
Comets.
Yep.
Yeah, you can see them. It is really, really, really inspiring. Yeah.
That's great. Of course, the sort of the core theme of our podcast is being interested in outer space. And the reason, of course, it started was not necessarily to try to be overly technical. So I know you mentioned earlier, our audience, are they scientists? Absolutely not, right? We're all sort of very casual with how we approach things. And that also goes for space. And so we saw the total solar eclipse in 2017. We came back home to Michigan, where we live, where the total solar eclipse was not present and only partially present. And all of our friends and family kind of said, oh, it looked pretty cool. And we had just seen this life-changing, awe-inspiring event. So we wanted to start something, and hence the podcast was born. And naturally, we learned that we can't talk about just eclipses all the time, because so we've spun into talking about other things involved in outer space and what's going on in that world. Of course, our cycling contingent all kind of became this organic thing. But I love to hear the story about how you enjoy looking at the night sky. Do you have a telescope or anything?
No, I don't. But of course, I also have seen a solar eclipse, and and I'm hunting myself for chamois and for stag, and so I have some Googles. And if you turn them around the other way and you put a screen, then you can look into the sun without any damage to your eyes, and also to see the dark spots of the sun that can be used. And being scientists, I mean, this is quite okay for me. It's not beyond my technical capabilities to install the 3 pieces in one row so that you can see something. And so this kind of, let's say, little physical experiments. Our second child, a daughter, she is also Dr. Ranat, so she has also a PhD in science. And her partner is a physicist from the ETH in Zurich. So we have a lot of scientists in our family, not only our children, but also the friends of our children, our own friends. And so subjects like this are quite common to us. And if something like an eclipse takes place, you will find that all of our friends bring their best equipment along to our place. And of course, we have some good drinks with it, and of course, a lot of Wunderberg.
Absolutely.
Yeah, exactly. That's sort of the core of the name, Eclipse on Tap, bringing this passion for space and generally what we've learned, just passion for being outside and passion for cycling, and then on tap, right? Always paired with a good drink and good friends and good family. It's sort of become our core theme. And so it's great to hear that you enjoy doing a lot of the same things. Where did you see the total solar eclipse?
I think I was that day in Stuttgart, but I'm not 100. I tried to remember. I wasn't quite sure in the end where I have been. I mean, throughout Europe, I do a lot of traveling, and
Sure.
as you can imagine, yes. But there was one other thing when I got your invitation, and I was considering whether I would be an interesting partner and what kind of interesting subjects one could think about. And one of the things that I questioned myself whether it would be of interest for you, and please tell me, is the question that all life, of course, could never have been there. I mean, I'm a biologist, right? So could not be there without the sun, being the largest of those things out there, which we can see from the Earth. And to, from a very, like, putting myself in the place where the sun is and looking down on our Mother Earth, and being in this even more outside view on things, I mean, I don't know whether it's, I mean, like we say in German, eagle perspective. Like if I look down on the Earth, we call it eagle perspective. And but being even higher than the eagle, more out in space and looking down on Earth makes things even more interesting. And it gets me, at least, being looking at the world on the background of a biologist, remember that the biggest, that actually all power that's here comes from the sun,
Right.
and is such a big gift to all of us. And I think even though it is an extremely difficult process, especially also in Germany, because there's a big transformation in our economy and so on, but that we are now at the threshold, at the point where solar power is not only something from which trees grow, crops grow, hop for our beers grow, herbs grow, and so on. This has been there for thousands of years, and this is why we have oxygen that we can breathe as animals and humans, right? But if you put yourself into that perspective, and now we are at the point where this gift of energy from the sun, from the solar power, comes to be in a competitive use set also economically. And I think we are living in very interesting time. Sometimes people get scared about all this about all these transformational tasks. But if one puts oneself so far out as you, if I understand it right, do it in Eclipse on Tap, I think it is there's a lot of hope in it. There's a lot of positive things in it. And I think we have to strengthen talking about these positive things. And so this part was the one why I thought it's maybe useful that we speak to each other, because in today's world we have a lot of negative things that separate people from each other, and so on. We all don't need to go into it. I thought that this kind of background that you explained to me with your invitation was a good opportunity to speak from this very background about something really, really positive that I really see and that I believe in. And whether you use the solar power to, let's say, use it for synthetic gasoline or alcohol to run cars or airships or whatever. I mean, I don't care, but it is something positive that we can do, we haven't been able to do before, and which can change the world, I'm quite sure, to the better.
Very well said.
Yeah.
That's something that we talk about all the time on the podcast is just the awe of our planet and what exists beyond our planet. And to your point, none of this would be here. We wouldn't be enjoying Underbergs if those herbs don't grow. And they all, our life, the life of those herbs, everything here comes from the sun.
Yeah, and I think this is why I liked the title and the way that your invitation came abroad, because I could connect myself very easily to it. because the sun is, and you have the sun in the background, and there's no eclipse without the sun, right?
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
And so this is why I thought it's really used, because in the end, if you look at the latest findings also about how trees communicate.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
If you look about, if you have fungi in the ground, one organism of these fungi can be at the size of square miles. There's so many, like the two, I mean, the unknown above is just as big as the unknown below us.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yep.
And even though we fly to the moon in today's days, still it was only recently discovered how big one organism can be, square miles big.
Right.
And I find this quite exciting, I have to say, that all this happened and is happening and was happening for ages and ages, and we didn't know about it. And step by step, thanks to our curiosity, I said something about curiosity before, we find out, and it gives option for solutions for a better future.
Yeah.
No question.
Yeah, I love what you said just about the sun. We can have so many disagreements, so many things going on in this day-to-day world between people and countries and whatever it happens to be, but we're all reliant on the cosmos and the sun to be able to keep living and to do the things that we do on the daily basis. And that's one of our mottos, is get out and look up and appreciate everything around you, not just staring at your phone or whatever it is every single day. Look up and appreciate what we have. Get out and make an effort to look at the night sky and get to an eclipse, things like that. So
Yeah, I'm so excited to hear that you share that passion, Hubertina. It is sort of what keeps us passionate about this podcast and driving forth, right? We had the 2017 total solar eclipse, and we knew that the 2024 solar eclipse was also going to be coming through the United States. So that 7-year span in between was pretty rare to have someone in close succession.
Yes.
And we thought after the 2024 eclipse last year, we had an incredible event, but it was so obvious to us, so very clear that we would continue doing what we're doing. Even though the next eclipse in the United States is until 2044, right? We're going to take this on a global path and try to get to some eclipses outside of the United States. But the general point being, as David mentioned, it's just sort of the rhythm to what we march towards with this podcast, with the cycling team. There's just this great community that's surrounded us, and it's so special. So to hear that you also share that passion is it's an honor, and it's been such an honor to have you on this podcast. I mean, to be thinking that we're speaking with you, representing Underberg in the way that you do, in such a beautiful legacy of this brand. It's been such a pleasure to have you here. It's an incredible product. Our listeners love it, and I think that they'll love hearing from you today. So cheers
Thank
to
you
you
so much.
Yeah. Thank you.
Cheers.
And
Thank you.
appreciate you. Bye.
Yeah. Bye-bye.